Well, welcome to the Waking Up Spiritually podcast. It's such a privilege to have you join us today. And I'm Wendy Rose Williams. I am a past life energy healer, and I help people release pain, anxiety, depression, and other stuck energy not serving them. What a difference that makes in life. We can feel so much happier and healthier and just enjoy our purpose when we're able to release that energy that doesn't serve us. My wonderful co-host, Greg Kirk, is going to introduce himself in a moment. And then we have a very special guest that's going to share a really astonishing near-death experience and everything that she learned from that. But first, let me recap why Greg and I have been enjoying podcasting with you for 5 years now. And waking up spiritually is because we want to offer support to you. Because when we are waking up spiritually and remembering who we are and where we're from, and that we're just divine beings of love and light, having a human experience that can be very challenging at times. And those awakening symptoms can be challenging also. They can just be very isolating, be frightening at times, have friends and family can just fall away because they may not be having the same experiences. So we're here to help provide support and help normalize. And no, you're not crazy. You really can be having these beautiful, beautiful experiences and get wonderfully grounded and clear in your energy and know how to make sense of them. So Greg, please introduce yourself, and then we will introduce our wonderful guest today.
Yes, I'm Greg Kirk. My website is my name, Greg Kirk, GREGGKIRK.com. And there you can find the energy work I do in person as well as remotely. I'm a Lyme disease advocate, also a health coach, a health and wellness coach. That's health and wellness coach. Those are the words I was looking for. And I help patients all over the world with their chronic illnesses. A lot of times it ends up being Lyme disease through herbal treatments and so forth. I run online group healing circles every Sunday, and we do in-person fire circles in the Connecticut area where I live. I've written a book called The Gratitude Curve, and I'm also pre-announcing that sometime this year, probably in the next month or so, I'm going to be releasing a second book called Your Love Will Make the Difference. And so we'll talk more about that later after the interview. But Wendy, I'm going to pull our deck up. So do you want to tell everyone what we're doing?
So you, of course, are so welcome to listen to the podcast via your favorite podcast app or whatever's convenient for you. But this is a visual podcast too, meaning we've got a PowerPoint presentation. And so just information is available to you there. And our website for the podcast is wakingupspiritually.com. We've got also the YouTube channel. So wherever you like to consume your podcast information, you can find us there. So Greg, walk us through who Elaine Starling is, because she is a bundle of joy and energy. I know everyone's going to just really, really love hearing from.
Yes. When Elaine is better known as the Abundance Ambassador. She is a renowned international speaker, a TEDx presenter, a host of the Abundance Journey podcast and video show, and the international bestselling author of 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance. Her spiritual awakening led her to empower individuals seeking spiritual enlightenment, to cultivate a profound connection with the divine, which enables them to manifest the financial abundance they desire. Through her transformative Activate Abundance process and the Abundance Journey map, Elaine combines proven business strategies with personal development and spiritual insights, guiding fellow spiritual travelers to unlock unlimited abundance and realize their dreams. You can find out more about her and what she offers at her website, which is theabundancejourney.com. And yes, let us
Let's
invite our
bring
friend.
Elaine in and have her join us.
There she is. Yay.
Hey there.
Hi there, Elaine. Welcome. It's just so wonderful to have you here with us today. And we would just love for you to share that profound experience you had with your near-death experience. Where were you when it happened? What year was it? And what changes did that bring about in your life?
It was pretty profound. It actually all started about a month before the big event because I had a birthday in early December and I was complaining to my husband about my frustrations with my business. Things were challenging and I just couldn't figure out how to rearrange it. And I felt guilty for somehow wanting more. So many things in my life were absolutely amazing. And I told him, I'm just going to stop thrashing. I'm just going to accept the status quo and deal with the frustration and just keep going because I don't know what to do. So a month later, we're on vacation in New Zealand and we've been off the plane for a week. We're walking around Queenstown on the South Island and we'd had breakfast. All of a sudden, as we're walking around, I get tunnel vision and little sparkles around the outside of my vision. And I started to feel kind of wobbly. My balance was off. And so my husband sat me down on a park bench, and all of a sudden, my right arm went numb and the right side of my face went numb. And those are classic symptoms that you're having a stroke. So my husband quickly got me to a medical center. They didn't have a hospital in town at that time, a medical center. And here it is, New Year's Day, 2005. So there's not a whole lot open on New Year's Day. They gave me an aspirin and they asked me to describe a picture on the wall. And I knew exactly what the picture was, but the words that came out of my mouth made no sense. And I knew they made no sense. Now I felt great. I felt awesome. I felt like it was a lazy Saturday morning and I was just really tired and I just wanted to take a nap. So they'd done all the tests and they're like, yeah, you're having a stroke. And we've given you the aspirin. There's not really too much else we can do right now. And I was like, can I take a nap? I'd really like to take a nap. So they told me to just go ahead and relax. And as soon as I relaxed, I found myself inside this massive cloud. And I was part of it and it was part of me. And I felt this cloud say, this is perfect. And somehow I knew it was talking about me. And I'm, good little girl that I am. I'm like, are you kidding? I don't speak multiple languages. I haven't solved world hunger. I am not all that. And I heard back, oh, you don't understand how it works. See, you're designed with your skills, abilities, talents, interests, preferences, as well as your faults, your foibles, your issues, your problems, your challenges. And we put all of that together to create exactly what is needed right now. You are perfect because of your imperfections. And I was just like, whoa, Toto, we are not in Kansas anymore. Something really wild is going on here. And every time I'd ask a question, I get an answer back in my body, like 360 degrees, past, present, future, colors we can't see, sounds we can't hear, beyond human understanding. And yet somehow I got it. I always say it's kind of like swallowing Google whole with all the likes, the SEO, the videos, the connections, the pictures, everything, all at once. Boom. Here's the answer in my body. And I was having a blast. I just asked questions and all this stuff was coming in. And after a while, I felt like I was kind of in an alcove. And I realized this was my higher power that I was having a conversation with. And then I noticed other entities floating around going by. Here I am in an alcove with God, with the divine. And I don't want to miss our conversation. I don't want to be rude and I don't want to interrupt what we're saying. But here goes Jesus, and you do the little head nod. It's like, hey, dude, nice to see you. Right, Buddha, yeah, Muhammad, yeah. Hey, Angel Gabriel, nice, yeah. But I'm busy, I'm having this conversation. And then after a while, the questions were kind of slowing down a little bit. And they said, are you sure you're done? And somehow I knew that I was very close to getting something else done. And I also still had half of my vacation going on. And I said, oh, no, I'm not done. We're loving New Zealand. It's awesome. You should really check it out. Oh, right. You probably know all about it. And they said, no. You said you were done thrashing. If you're sure you're done, we can use that ectoplasm for something else. Are you sure you're done? And it was very clear to me that if I said I was done and I was having a great time, I would have to come back and start all over again to get back to where I was. And I was so close to something. And I was like, no, I'll go back.
So just so I understand, you being done would have meant that you were ready
Passing away from the physical,
right. But then you would
into
have to
spiritual,
come back in another
as
life
physical,
to
and
relearn.
come back to another. So
Yeah.
let me explain something here, because during my stroke, they asked me a rhetorical question. And it was clear they really wanted me to understand this. They're like, okay, everything is love. You are love. The air you're breathing is love. The chair you're sitting in is love. Everything is love. The God of your understanding is love. So, how do you expand love when everything already is love? I was stumped. I had no idea. They said, we decided to create human beings who do not think that everything is love. And that gives you the duality, the friction between what is wanted and what is not wanted, which creates the superpower of choice. You either step back in fear and try to stay safe, or you step forward with grateful curiosity and love, not knowing what's coming, but looking for the blessings that are there for you. And every single time you step forward, you expand the divine, you expand love. This being physical, being human, is the expansion joint of the divine. That's why we created you. That's why we are so excited for you and about you. And through you, we are witnessing the birth of additional divinity through you. Now, the thing is, we're not going to make it easy, okay? It's not like you're in alignment all the time and la, 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 everything's lovely. No, 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 no. We push you out of alignment deliberately. We throw all kinds of stuff at you guys. And that's because we want you to see, oh, whoops, I'm out of alignment. I'm not feeling it. And then you use your tools, your skills to get back into alignment. And by alignment, it's that feeling of connection with the divine, feeling centered and grounded and ready to be courageous and step forward again without knowing what's coming. And every time you do that, that's when you expand the divine. So don't worry about being out of alignment. Focus on every time you're out, get back in.
Beautiful. Yes.
Really, that's really profound, because it takes the worry and the anxiety out of so many things, as you explain it so beautifully, that this has a master plan.
Yeah, it does.
Beautiful,
It really
divine
does.
plan.
It really does. And there are three key things that they want us to do. The first is be love in every moment. Be love for yourself and be love for others. Because so often we've got judgment going and we're criticizing ourselves, or we're looking for something from somebody else when we could just hold the space and be love. And we don't always make that choice. I'm guilty of that too. I'm still very human. Believe me. The second thing that they want us to do is notice the love that's already present. And again, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. We have to ask better questions. We have to look at it from different angles. We have to look at, how is this inspiring me to grow and contribute, especially in love? Because everything is guiding us to be more love. Everything. Be more love for ourselves, be more love for others. So noticing the love that's already here, and sometimes it's all about growth, and growth isn't always comfortable, but growth is what is needed. And then the third thing is collaborate with other people, because every time you get together with somebody else, you create more opportunities for love. You just do. It's woven into you. So it's all about the love.
Wow. This is right in line with some information I got about 2 years ago, where, the guide said, never miss an opportunity to give, teach, or receive love. And the more you do it, it starts a ripple effect, a chain reaction. And this is how you start. They called it the revolution of love. It's very much like what you're saying. And also in the Law of One books, they talk about seeking the divine in everything. So, this is how you can love the unlovable. I think it's the exact same thing you're talking about, finding the love that's already here. To me, love and the divine mean almost the same thing. So, yeah.
They
very,
sure
very
do.
cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 7-day mental diet.
Mm-mm.
It was invented, I think, in the 1930s. And the idea is, for 7 days, you do not blame, shame, judge, criticize, or complain about anything for 7 days.
Wow.
That's very hard to do.
Right.
And You do not absorb, you don't say, okay, so that's anything that you say, and you don't absorb anything negative. So you do not watch the news, you do not look at headlines, you do not, you don't put any garbage in, no garbage out,
Right.
basically. And it's a challenging thing to do. And when you notice, you just immediately kind of flick it off and go back to a more positive state of being. Well, I was practicing the 7-day mental diet. It is definitely a practice. And I went to the grocery store. And I kid you not, every single aisle in the grocery store, somebody was arguing about something. It didn't matter what. And then I got to the checkout and I saw all these glaring headlines about wars. And then I overhear people talking about some horrible natural disaster. So I get my groceries, I go out to the car and I sit in the car and I connect with the divine. And I'm like, seriously? I'm trying to do this positive 7-day mental diet thing. Why are you bombarding me with all this junk? Right?
Well, that's the point. This stuff doesn't work unless you're challenged, right?
Exactly. And they said, we are guiding you and you are guiding us. Every time you notice something that you don't personally know how to fix, like the homeless situation, like a natural disaster, like a plague, anything that you don't personally know how to fix, we expect you to immediately envision every single person involved or impacted 2 energetic levels above where they are now. Right now, they're in the flames. We want you to envision them as the phoenix and send them love and blessings. Envision them whole, healed, well, and thriving. Nice. When you do that, you guide the divine to support them. We are guiding you, and you are guiding us.
Very cool. Great info.
That really is so beautiful and so practical too.
Right.
So Elaine, it's been 20 years. Did you say this happened in 2005?
It sure did.
So here you are, your 20-year anniversary, and what an experience for your husband, and how wonderful that he recognized what was going on so quickly and got you to a medical facility. And I just love the analogy that you were part of the cloud, because 20 years ago, we didn't really think of the cloud the same way with where we're like saving our computer information and doing our backups. But I think it's just this perfect analogy.
Well, tell us, like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I realized later that the cloud was atoms and molecules. That's what I witnessed. I didn't go to a heaven, that kind of thing. I was in the flow. I was in the field.
Nice.
And yeah, it was pretty amazing. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Greg.
No. Well, I just wondered what happened after you got out of the health center. What was the first thing that happened with you?
Well, it was really interesting because as soon as I said, no, I'm ready to go back, they said, great, get back and get busy. And I came out of the stroke with absolutely no damage, none. It was like I'd just taken a nap and nothing had happened. The only proof I have of my stroke is the hospital bill. And I think, thank you. I like it like that. That's great.
Right.
But everything changed. I mean, everything changed. Before the stroke, I didn't really woo, let alone woo-woo. After the stroke, I talk to angels. I'm very open about my spirituality. I tell people about the divine all the time. I have a podcast, The Abundance Journey. Everything is guiding us to love. Everything is there to give us a choice. You can choose to focus on the things that you don't like, or you can choose to focus on the things that you do like. And your intention, I always point at my heart when I say intention, your intention is revealed by your actions and your thoughts. And they are so much more powerful than you know. About a year ago, I was in my kitchen doing dishes. And I was just kind of musing over how, sometimes you have a project that you're working on and it just comes together really easily. It's a snap, it's a breeze, it's no big deal. And then other times you're working on a project and it is a freaking slog. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, you hit roadblock, problem, challenge, issue, it's so frustrating. And I was just wondering, why does that happen? And I immediately felt and heard a very loud and forceful voice in my body that said, when you deny your power is denied to you.
Wow.
When you acknowledge your power your power is shown to you. You are more powerful than you can imagine.
Mhm.
And I was like, whoa, dried off my hands when I wrote it down. I'm like, what am I doing to deny my power? Sorry, won't do that anymore. What am I doing? I can't keep denying my power. And I realized that often the words we use subtly undermine what we say we want to create.
Yeah.
I am doing much better at avoiding using words like want, need, try. Instead, I choose, I intend, I am, because those have a lot more power. The others take my power away.
Right. Wow.
I think you're so that's just so well said, Elaine. And the guides and the divine have done some work with me, and they'll literally show a word that I use and put a big red X through it and show me the new word. I used to use the word hope, and they said, well, you can hope all day long, but hope and hopeless can be quite related. They're like, why don't you learn how to trust? You have work to do in the area of restoring your trust. So every time I said hope, instead I was like, I trust. And it was more powerful for me.
Yeah.
It's much more powerful. It was really interesting when I got back home and here was this incredible experience that I'd had. I had never felt that level of unconditional, all-encompassing, saturating love in my life. And I'm blessed. I had great parents, awesome husband, wonderful family. This was different. Totally different. And I get back and I'm like, wow, I want more of that. On tap would be great. How do I get more of that? And so I did all this research and I checked out all these spiritual masters, and everybody says you just have to allow. You have to open your heart and allow the messages to come in. Just allow. Well, I was allowing my little heart out. And every once in a while, I'd get a download. It always felt really great, but it was a lot closer to like a leaky watering can than the Niagara Falls of love that I had before. And
Right.
so one morning, I'd done my meditation. I'm sitting down to journal, asking for guidance, and I'm in a bit of a mood. So I'm writing and I'm like, why isn't this allowing thing working for me? I was pissed. And I immediately got back the message. What is the image that comes to mind when you think of the word allow? And I never put it on anybody else. This is strictly my experience. But as soon as I thought of the word allow, I saw myself behind a door with a chain on the door. And I'm peeking out the door at the divine and I'm freaking terrified because I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to get something wrong. What if I make a mistake? Oh my gosh, there's just so much pressure. And then I suddenly realized for me, the word allow is a mind-based word. My mind likes cause and effect. A nice, simple process with a guaranteed outcome would be perfect, according to my mind. Well, the problem is the divine is so much larger and more complex than anything our human understanding is capable of, that kind of a word just isn't going to work for me. And I realized I need a heart-based word, something that really reflects the kind of relationship I want to have with the divine, I choose to have with the divine. And I realized that I wanted a relationship where the divine was my BFF. We were finishing each other's sentences, teasing each other, laughing, inside jokes, just getting along like a house of fire. And so I really had to think about it. But I realized that my word is welcome. You can feel the energetic shift between allow, maybe I will, maybe I won't, and welcome. There's no barriers, there's no requirements, there's no hesitation, there's just welcome. And that shifted everything.
Oh, yeah. That's, the word allow reminds me of like what a judge says, objection, Your Honor, I'll allow it. It's very transactional. Whereas, welcome, that's totally different. That's it's allowing, well, like you said, it's heart-centered. And I love your terminology as well. Whenever I hear the difference between try and do, I think of the quote by Yoda in Star Wars, there is no try, only do. So yeah, absolutely. And Wendy, to your point, hope has this feeling to it, like it's something that you want, but you don't have yet. And to Elaine's point, and this goes into the law of attraction and things like that, you'll get it when you, well, like Wayne Dyer said, believe and then you will see, so act like you've already got it, or feel it that you've already got it, assume that emotion, and then the stuff comes, right?
And, I really want to speak to that really briefly. I'm sorry, Wendy, because so many people think, oh, it's only special people who can do this. No, everybody has this ability. Absolutely everybody on the planet has this ability. We've just forgotten. Why? Because it's part of our growth and contribution path. We get to release the layers. We've put on all these special sunglasses that limit our experience and what we can see. We've got blinders on. And so as we remove those blinders, then we realize we were that all along. Yeah, sorry.
I think what we're touching on is that we're all powerful creators and co-creators because we are a spark of the divine. But we forget that because we get in the human bodies and the density, and we can get trapped in the lower energies and lower vibrations and not be enjoying the game of life the way it's meant to be played, with us really being in our power and creating what we need, what we're meant to create, and remembering that we are love, and that we're not meant to be going around looking for it, like,
yeah,
you complete me, and trying to, we can't get these things externally until we are them ourselves and give it to ourselves and radiate it out. And then we attract more of it because we're creating it and we're vibrating with it and raising our vibration and frequency.
That is so true. And I actually have a story I want to share with you because it's really aligned with what you just said.
Please.
I was out running some errands and I was driving my husband's truck, and it's a fairly large vehicle, and me and spatial awareness are distant connections at best. So I'm trying to back out of this parking place, and I'm being really, really careful because I don't want to hit anything. I'm looking around, and out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody flying through the parking lot like it's a racetrack. And I'm thinking, wow, that is not safe. And I look around back, slowly, and somebody honked. And I didn't even look, but it sure sounded like they honked at me. And I immediately switched from happy, happy, joy, joy to piss off in a nanosecond. And I started making up all these nasty stories about whoever was honking at me. They weren't just dropped on their head as an infant, they were dribbled repeatedly. And I was having such a good time in my righteous indignation. And the divine was like, no, wait a minute, time out, honey. We keep telling you that every single moment is designed to be a blessing for you. Yeah, you're having a lot of fun making up a story, but it sure doesn't sound like it's a blessing. We want you to deliberately make up a story where that honk was actually a blessing. And I had to think about it for a minute, but I thought, well, I didn't run into anything. Maybe they didn't have time to put their car in park, jump out, run around, knock on my window. Lady, careful, you're going to run into something. And all they could do was honk to prevent an accident, which would have cost money, a lot of time, a lot of frustration. Well, not having an accident, that's a blessing. And then I realized, they had a different vantage point on where I was in the parking space. And I didn't think I had enough room, but I immediately hit the brakes and I cranked on the wheel and I out of that parking place. So maybe it was more like a thumbs up. You're good. You got this. They were being a good neighbor. And again, they didn't have time to put in park, jump out, run around, knock on my window. You're okay. Go ahead. And then the real message came through. All this time, I've been the bad guy. I've been denying my blessings by the stories that I make up about what things mean. Every time I make up a story that this is somehow not a blessing, that somehow this is abuse or criticism or judgment, and I go into a dark space, I'm making that story up. So I can
Creating
choose.
what you don't want.
Yeah. And don't we do that a lot?
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the growth process, is learning how to choose a better story and deliberately pick better stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I was taught that by dream interpreters. When you have a dream and you wake up and you're working through a challenge is coming up from the subconscious and the unconscious or past life energy or whatever it is you're releasing, to just before you even open your eyes, just redo that dream, because you're now awake, or maybe you can lucid dream it and just take control of it and get the outcome. So, instead of you're trying to get to the airport and catch your flight and just everything's going wrong and you're so worried about missing your flight, and you just have this terrible, terrible travel experience. And often that's just very indicative of life. It's got a bigger connotation to it, and just redo it. It's like you get this perfect ride to the airport and everything's easy breezy, and you get upgraded and you have all the time you need, and you just have this tiny little bag and it fits perfectly and nothing's heavy, because often those airport or train or bus, part of why it's such a hassle is we're like dealing with like all this luggage and it's too heavy and things don't fit and they tell us we can't bring it, and it's like, why don't we just let go of these things?
Yeah, it's so funny. I am a lucid dreamer. And a long time ago, I told myself, anytime I'm having a dream that is not serving me or it feels uncomfortable, it's a movie. And so the director will call cut. And then I stop in the bad guy and I go out and have coffee because, we're pals, we're getting along. And he's like, hey, I got to do this a little different. You should do that a little different. And so we we collaborate. And then it's like, okay, now let's go. And so it turns every dream into a lot of fun instead of a lot of frustration. And also, I started, there's a little book out there that I absolutely love. It's small, it doesn't take up a lot of time. It's called Hiring the Heavens. And it's an absolutely wonderful book where you can talk to angels and hire them to help you with things. So I do that all the time. I always thank the angels. Would you please help me, get where I'm going on time? I'd love a great parking spot. And I hire attitude adjustment angels. They are my favorite angels. I'm like, angels, always for me first. Please make sure that I'm in a good mood, that I'm upbeat, that I'm really paying attention to people. I'm holding space for them and I acknowledge and appreciate them. And please make sure that everyone I encounter is in a great mood too, so that we have a lot of fun together and we create something so much better than either of us could experience on our own. Everything is guided, absolutely everything. Last summer or last September, actually, I had a retinal detachment. And so I got to go in and have surgery and all this fun stuff. And it was very clear to me that the only way I was going to encounter the people that I met at the surgery center was if I'd had a retinal detachment. And I was guided to be there because someone needed my support and needed the input and needed me to hold space. And so everything that you experience, when you choose to welcome it as a blessing, and of course I did, I immediately hired angels and I said, angels, thank you so much for restoring me to perfect physical sight, which I do have now. And thank you for giving me perfect spiritual sight at the same time.
Wow.
And you're more grateful for things often because there has been a challenge and there has been an interruption of it. Because if we had perfect health or wealth or relationships all the time, I think unfortunately we'd be pretty blasé about it, because we wouldn't have that duality, as you said. We wouldn't have experienced the contrast, and we also wouldn't be learning and growing how to recenter ourselves and how to get back there from what you described in the beginning, Elaine. Is that on track with what you've learned?
Yes, it is really about what are we saying? What are we feeling? What are we doing? And so being more self-aware is really the key to shifting things in your life, because you don't think that you're making a difference and yet you are. And I'm always reminded of my mom when I was a little kid and I'd want a cookie. I'd say, Mom, can I have a cookie? And it used to annoy me at beyond all things that when I was a kid, and she'd say, I don't know if you can, but you may, right?
Right.
Can or can't, and may, do I have permission versus physical ability? And so we don't even realize that we're putting those kinds of things on ourselves. And we are. Yeah.
Right. So, Elaine, how did you go from being Elaine, who had a stroke in New Zealand, to the abundance ambassador? How did that journey of yours start?
It really started with the stroke and then receiving guidance all along the way. And I'm very grateful to the stroke because I have absolutely no fear of death and dying. You've been physical many times in the past. You will be physical many times in the future. It is a graduation. It is not an ending at all. And I was going through a phase at that time of my life when my parents were getting elderly, as were my in-laws, and my husband and I were the primary folks to support them at that time. And so having this awareness, it released a lot of the anxiety and concerns about them. And I could let them have an incredible experience and transition the way they needed to without me getting all wrapped around the axle about it. So that was an incredible blessing. And then on top of that, I continued to get messages. And one of the things that I do at the end of every single segment of the abundance journey, I do an activate abundance segment. So there are 5 steps to activate abundance. You can do this with anything, with everything, because everything in your life is actually a choice. You choose whether to turn it into abundance or not. It's your choice. You have that much power. So here are the 5 steps to activate abundance. The first step is always gratitude. Gratitude is the beginning of everything that you want to experience in your life. If you want a great relationship, you have to be grateful for the connection, grateful for the opportunity to have this collaborative experience. Everything you want starts with gratitude. The second step is to acknowledge something that you heard or experienced that was a little aha for you. It opened you up in some way. So, Greg, what would be a little aha that we shared today that you think would be great to focus on?
Oh, it's something you said earlier. I can't remember now. um,
For
aha
me,
moment.
I think while Greg's thinking, I think it's to remember to be fully in our power and to just enjoy that in a beautiful way, because we can be fully in our power without abusing it.
So
And
true.
that was actually a soul contract I had with just a key individual soulmate that I met. And that was the soul contract, was for him to inspire me to step fully into my power without abusing it. And he did so by breaking my heart repeatedly, because it needed to be broken to be able to be reassembled, versus just being all closed up with duct tape and baling wire of having been hurt and having closed it off.
Yeah.
So that was the experience for me, and that's resonating with a lot of what you're saying.
Excellent. I love it. Okay, so step 1 is gratitude. Step 2 is to acknowledge something that was an aha for you, to remember to stay in your power without abusing it, and that you always have power.
Right.
You may not be aware of it, but you do have it. And so it's easy to accidentally abuse it when you don't realize what you're doing. You're tripping over your own feet. You've accidentally tied your shoelaces together. Oops. Step 3, appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Well, when you're aware, I do have power. I have an incredible ability to shift everything in my life. And it starts with how I feel, what I'm saying, my intentions, where I put my attention. That makes all the difference in the world. So that really helps you pay more attention to what's going on in your life. So you make choices that really align with what you are creating for yourself. The fourth thing is to activate abundance. And I found 3 different ways to activate abundance. The first one is schedule time to get things done. And I include meditation and journaling in that category, because if you don't schedule time for it, you're not going to do it. You're busy. And I find that there's so much stuff going on in my head, I don't even know what I'm saying to myself all the time. So when I write it down, I can get an objective perspective on what's going on. And I can see, am I honoring my power, or am I giving my power away? Am I denying my power accidentally? So I can shift things when I see them. The second way to activate abundance is with a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe. It's really helpful when you're going into what could be a challenging situation. family holidays are always one of those things where, okay, I'm going to be in my power. And I've hired the attitude adjustment angels, and I'm staying in this space of gratitude, acknowledgement, appreciation. And when I focus on that, everything shifts and everybody has a great time. And I have the power to do that anytime I want. So, hey, now sounds like a good time. The third way to activate abundance is to work with what I call an abundance buddy. Everybody else calls them accountability buddies, but hey, I'm all about abundance. So they're abundance buddies. And this is somebody who gets you, who knows you, who loves you. And you make a declaration. You're like, okay, I am honoring my power. And I want you to call me on it anytime you notice that I'm using those words that deny my power, or I'm behaving in a way that is incongruent with my intention. Please call me on it, because sometimes those old habits, they're harder to break. And I want to be very aware when I'm out of alignment with my intention. So those are the three ways to activate abundance. Step one, gratitude. Step two, acknowledge something that was an insight for you, an aha for you. Step three, appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Step four, activate it. Step five, celebrate your progress. This is not a one and done. This is a continually unfolding, joyous expansion of spiritual enlightenment and essence and joy and prosperity for you. And you have total control over that. You do. So instead of experiencing something and going, why is this happening to me? This gives you the ability to say, oh, this is happening for me. How is this a blessing for me? What is this doing to get my attention? Because obviously my attention is on what is not working instead of what is working. And I want to look at my intention again. I did a TEDx talk called Abundance is a Choice, because those are the two things we really control, our intention and our attention. And when you focus on that, everything starts to shift.
By the way, I remember my aha moment. Better late than never. It was you pointing out the difference between allowing and welcoming. That's a great great tip, great bit of advice.
Distinction, yes.
Distinction, yes. So, Elaine, you've got a podcast, you've written a book. What are you doing now with all these venues, and what do you do now? I mean, do you take people on? I mean, do you guide people? Do you do classes? I mean, how do you put all this together?
All of the above. I do. I'm a spiritual abundance coach, because it's really interesting. A lot of people think abundance is money.
Right.
And no, abundance is an energy. And a lot of people don't realize that money is the energy of gratitude. And so when you are creating an experience that gives people the opportunity to be incredibly grateful, that's when you receive the money. So people tend to come at it backwards, right? They tend to think, oh, show me the money. Yesterday would be good. I want the revenue right now. Give me the money. Give me the money. And once the revenue's in, my reputation's going to be made. Everybody's going to know who I am. All the people lined up around the block. And then I can have relationships with people I've admired for years. Me and Oprah, BFFs. And then I push them on, well, what else would you like? What else would be incredible? What else would you really enjoy? And they finally say, I can't have it yet because I haven't earned it. But someday I'm going to be able to just share my gifts and create a really rewarding experience just by being me, just by being who I am, and making a difference in the world just by showing up. Well, it happens in the reverse order of what they say they want. It starts with a rewarding experience, because that's why people want a relationship with you. And you own your standards, but you don't own your reputation. Your relationships will tell everybody who you are being for them. And the revenue is a byproduct, an unavoidable byproduct of your rewarding experience. That's how we create life. That's how it all evolves. And so I do private coaching with people. I also have a training program where it's group coaching as well as some pre-recorded training. And I'm a public speaker. and I'm just getting the word out as much as I possibly can. You are the abundance you're looking for. So when you tune in to who you are and what you're truly saying to yourself, everything starts to shift.
That's really powerful, Elaine. Tell us a little bit more about the TEDx talk, or is that getting to the gist of what the TEDx talk is about?
The TEDx talk is the tip of the iceberg. It's really kind of the shortcut, and
Okay.
it's talking about intention and attention.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more to it than that. It's really about getting comfortable with who you are.
Mhm.
I want to give you an example. I read a book that was wonderful, highly recommend it. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Great book, A Happy Pocket Full of Money. And in the book, the two authors talk at length about the power of I am goals. So you say, I am, and whatever it is you want to create. And I thought, man, that just energetically, that really feels right. But being a human being, I'm like, man, I wish there was an example in my own life that just really, you know, illustrated that. And then I got a blinding flash of the obvious and a conversation that I'd had with my then boyfriend, now husband, many, many times over the years. And it sounds something like this. Honey, I am so happy and grateful that I get to spend life with you. You are just an amazing man. There are times when I don't understand you, but when I can, you open up my world. You just expand this experience. It's so enriching. I am so lucky that I get to share my life with you, and I am more in love with you every single day. We've only been together for 45 years, and we are more in love every single day.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. And you are finding the fountain of youth energy clearly because of just this joy and being centered and being in your power, Elaine.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
think love does shift a lot for all of us. And the key thing is, it's not just you. Okay. Because a lot of people feel kind of guilty. It's like, yeah, but it's all about me. And here I'm being this egotistical person and working on my spirituality. And, I don't want to be this selfish person. But I read another incredible book that I highly recommend. It's called Connected: The Surprising Power of Our Social Networks and How They Shape Our Lives. Just remember Connected, okay? It's a brilliant book written by two social scientists who study at two different universities. They were really fascinated by this whole 6 degrees of separation thing, and they wanted to document, how serious is this? Does this really work? So they got a bunch of grad students together and did a massive study, and they discovered something that they call the 3 degrees of influence rule. It turns out that you have influence over your friends, 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 3 levels away from you. And I was like, wow, that's really fascinating. I wonder how many people that is. So I asked Dr. Google, and she came back with a recently published article in the New York Times citing research that stated the average American knows about 600 people. And I thought, what? No way in the world. And I asked a couple of friends of mine who are very knowledgeable, and they're like, that's really low. Closer to 1,000 people. I was like, okay, fine, time out. I did not do the research. Let's just pretend these statisticians, whoever they are, got the number right and see what happens. So if you imagine a bullseye where you're at the center of the bullseye and there are 3 rings around you representing your friends, 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 that first ring is the 600 people that you know. And they all know 600 people. So that's 360,000 people in your second ring. And they all know 600 people. So that's 216 million people in your third ring. According to these social scientists who wrote the book Connected, every single thing you think, feel, say, and do ripples out to 216,360,600 people, just you being you. Now, that's not the freaky part. Here's where it gets really cool, awesome, freaky. It turns out that when you're having a great day and you're in higher consciousness and you're honoring your power, those 600 people in your first ring are 15% more likely to do the same thing. And when you're in your power, that second ring of 360,000 people are 10% more likely to do the same, honor their own power, just because you are. You're entraining them into your energy. And the 216 million people that you're convinced there's not a way in the world, oh, yeah, They're 6% more likely to honor their own power just because you are. So don't think you don't matter. You create a massive tidal wave of love, of prosperity, of abundance, and possibility just by being you.
And
That's
this
fascinating information.
that
I'm
is
sorry.
absolutely, and that does take us to the, all boats rise with the tide. So it again, it's just us being in our power and just this is the collective rising together. And this is also back to that concept of we really are all one, because that circle of influence is astonishing. I'm so glad you shared those statistics in that study, because I had not heard this information,
Mm.
and it's very, very powerful, and it brings numbers and studies to what we know intrinsically, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful example of that. So thank you for sharing that.
It amplifies something that I've been getting message wise from guides, basically saying, keep your vibration up and just do the best you can every day. And all you have to do is just smile at people and just be kind, because they were impressing upon me of how powerful that was. Like, you don't have to do grand gestures, all you need to do is that. And then they were showing me like a ripple effect of how that was happening. I wasn't able to quantify it, but those statistics, oh my God. So, without saying much or without putting a lot of effort into it, you're high tide of energy, floats a lot of boats. That's incredible. Thank you so much for that. That's some of the best news I've heard in a long time.
I'm so glad that I could share that with you. And I got a message just a few weeks ago. Everything is love, and everything is guiding you to love, and every conversation is a request for love.
Mm.
It is.
Yeah.
So when you're having a conversation with another person and they're having a really tough day, or they're rude, or they're not considerate, they're asking for love. They're asking for support. They're asking for encouragement, because they're not in a place where they feel it and can generate it for themselves. That doesn't mean that we should always be externally referenced. It's always a reminder, I can be love in this moment right now.
Right.
I don't have to reflect back what I'm experiencing from this person. I can reflect love. And that's what we are called to do, continually reflect love. And when you see things that are happening in our world that you disagree with, you see politicians, you see mandates, you see new laws, anything that is against what you feel is appropriate, again, remember to send love and blessings out, imagining that everything is good and all is well, everyone is healthy and thriving, because change is the only constant, and change is deliberate. They are always trying to mess with us to throw us off balance so that we go, oh, hey, I'm out of alignment. And then we use our tools to get back into alignment. One of the things that I've been doing lately that I found really, really powerful as I do my meditation, with every in breath, I do Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian prayer. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I just say that over and over again in my mind as I breathe in, because I'm forgiving myself for any time that I experienced something and did not interpret it as love or guidance to love, because that's what it's truly intended to be. And I took it out of context. And then when I exhale, I do Ho'oponopono as well, because there are times when I'm ticked off and I'm not in the mood and I'm busy and I'm distracted and I'm not there for people. And I want to forgive myself for those times when I was not loving and compassionate and I did not hold the space. And just recognize that this is growth. This is evolution in progress. This is what it looks like when it's working. It is perfectly imperfect.
Right. I mean, the point being is we'll get the world we want, not by protesting, trying to change systems that are out there. It's just simply being the love and letting that radiate out to our millions of connections or whatever. And that's how it's done, instead of, marching in the street. Yes.
Well, you do take aligned action. I have a good friend who has a nonprofit called World Be Well. And they are putting together co-ops that are shared ownership and putting together programs to support locally grown food and getting access out to everybody in the area, supporting
Nice.
multiple nonprofits at once. And there are social investors who are actively looking for communities who are collaborative and really good at communicating together. So we don't tend to think of it that way because we've been trained that everything is top down, but in
Mhm.
reality, it's bottoms up, and the bottom is us. And
Right.
so when we can show up in our higher selves and we take action that aligns with our intention and what we choose to create in the world, yes, take action. Don't just sit on the couch, eat bonbons, and think good thoughts.
Right.
Take action towards the things that you believe in. And that's why I speak out about spirituality and abundance and how they're all related. Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess the fine point is that when you're doing these, the nonprofits you were talking about, they're creating something positive. They're not going out and trying to stop something that they don't like and protesting. So that, there's absolutely different energy in those two actions. That was my point is, do the Ho'oponopono thing and be in alignment when you're doing your actions, but always the embodiment of love. Yeah.
Who said be the change you want to see in the world? Was that
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also a famous story about Mother Teresa. They invited her to a war on drugs or something. I think it was a war protest. And she
Right.
said, anytime you want to have a peace rally, I'm there.
Yes.
But I ain't doing I'm
Right.
not fighting anything. I'm pro.
I'm
I'm
not against anything. Right. Exactly.
because you can go with the flow or you can fight the flow,
Right.
right? And it's so much more fun and joyous when you go with the flow.
Right. And that fight energy tends to keep around whatever it is you're fighting. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because when you resist, it persists.
Mm-hmm. Equal and opposite reaction. It's the second law of thermodynamics, I think. Yeah. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Yeah.
Which gets us back to that point about allowing and creating.
Yes. Yes.
Well, wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to say, Elaine, or questions you have to ask Greg? I've just so enjoyed this gorgeous conversation and just
Yes.
so much beautiful wisdom that you have to share, Elaine. I just love your take on things.
There's one key thing that I want to make sure everyone knows and truly owns. You are a blessing, exactly as you are. You are a blessing and you are blessed. And because you are a blessing and you are blessed, you have the ability to bless. So bless your food, bless your water, bless everyone you meet, bless total strangers, send out waves of love because you can. There was a prayer that I received, and it's really interesting. The divine doesn't often give me things all in one chunk. They'll give me, I call it a dot, like connecting the dots. And each dot is powerful in and of itself. And then they all get strung together. And I'm like, holy cow, that's amazing. But I guess I wouldn't have gotten the subtleties if they didn't just feed it to me one bite at a time. So I noticed, boy, over a year ago, that this prayer kept coming through my mind. Infinite divine love, blessings, enlightenment, vibrant health, and prosperity. And I just found myself saying it over and over again. Infinite divine love, blessings, enlightenment, vibrant health, and prosperity. And then I was shown that infinite divine love is to remind you that you are embraced by love at all times. You're swimming in an ocean of love. You are love. There's nothing but love. And you can choose to feel that connection and feel that oneness whenever you choose to. It's your choice. Infinite divine love is yours, and it's who you are. Blessings is there are blessings in every moment, and you choose to receive the blessing or not. It's choice, superpower choice. Yeah, it's coming up a lot. The third thing, embodiment. This is not about spiritual education. It's about being BFFs with the divine, with the God of your understanding. You are a co-collaborator with the divine. You are just as important as the divine. They are counting on you. So that's what enlightenment is all about. Vibrant health in every aspect of your life, growing, thriving. And then, of course, prosperity. It's more growing and thriving, but in lots of different ways. And then the message came down that what I give, I receive. And they want me to give this often. And then the message came in to incorporate every single molecule and to give this for all eternity. And so I received the infinite consciousness prayer. This is what it sounds like. I'm so happy and grateful that I embodied the divine, continually filling myself with infinite divine love, connecting with every molecule in existence, thought, and intent, in all times, dimensions, and realities, sending them infinite divine love, blessings, enlightenment, vibrant health, and prosperity for all eternity, welcoming back the energy that returns and using it to fulfill my divine purpose. In deepest gratitude, amen. And so I say that prayer several times every day. You can tell, to me, whenever I'm really filled with love and joy, it comes out in tears.
Yeah.
And I'm just so blessed that I received that message. And again, the message was, are you waiting for a blessing or are you giving a blessing? Because everything you give is returned to you tenfold. You don't have to wait for the divine to bless you. You can bless the divine first. And because you are blessing every single molecule in existence, thought, and intent in all times, dimensions, and realities, you're blessing your own molecules as well as all of creation. You're igniting the engine of infinite possibility and infinite abundance. So I just want to invite everyone to take that on because you can do it.
That's such a beautiful way, again, to say to really be in our power, because just being in that passivity, we're being victims and martyrs without realizing it, and waiting for someone else to make it better, to complete us, to wave their magic wand. Well, we've got the magic wand. It's here somewhere on my desk. I literally have a magic.
Me
You
too.
can click your heels because you had the ability to go home the whole time.
Exactly.
that we've got that power, and just need to use it and just enjoy doing good with it.
Yeah, very true. What an incredible conversation. Boy, I want to keep you
Elaine,
guys all day.
you are a loving powerhouse and a living blessing in and of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank
You know,
you.
what a great conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. And Elaine will include all the links to your website and to your TEDx talk, and to how to be able to work with you. So thank you again for being here. It was such a pleasure.
We need to do our outro now so you can
Yes.
leave the meeting, and thank you so much. Well,
Thank you
this is
both.
going to be up on YouTube here in an hour or so. And we'll
Okay, awesome.
share links with you.
Perfect.
Thank you
Thank
again.
you. Have a wonderful day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, here we go.
Frank's just going to bring up our PowerPoint, and we'll just share a little bit more information with you here. So that was just a great conversation.
Amazing. Yes.
Wonderful woman. So I have Regression Healing 2, Joe and Marilyn. My third book is now available in audiobook format, as well as paperback and on Kindle. And so please check that out. And my books are available via not only Amazon, but anywhere you like to purchase your books. And you can also enjoy some of the backstory to what that profound experience was that led me to write this book. I shared it on with Julie Ryan on the Ask Julie Ryan show, and she asked such great questions and had such wonderful perspective on it. So the link to Julie Ryan interview is on here also. And Greg, please update it. I am so loving being getting the privilege to be an advanced reader for your book that's going to come out. So please tell us about the gratitude curve and your love will make the difference.
Right. Yeah. So the Gratitude Curve was the book I published in 2018. And it was about my experiences healing from Lyme disease and having a spiritual awakening in the middle of it. And yeah, so I chronicled that. And I had not intended to do a sequel, but I had, literally within a month of publishing the Gratitude Curve, I started doing speaking engagements and book signings, and then eventually some group healings and things like that, things I had never done before. So I started writing down notes about how these things were going and some amazing experiences, not only that I had, but a lot of patients had, miracles happening before my eyes. And so after 7 years of that, it got to the point where it was like, all right, I have enough here to put a book together. And I didn't even use all of it. I used maybe 3/4 of it. There's still more I could write a third book possibly. But anyway, put it all together. And how this is different from the Gratitude Curve is I talk about, from a Lyme disease perspective, I talk about how I got into remission and then how I stayed there, because I didn't stay in remission after I went to go see the healer in Brazil named John of God. I had a complete healing, but then 6 months later, I started getting some symptoms that came back because I hadn't changed my life. As I say to people now, if you have a life-changing illness, apparently you're going to need to change your life as a result to go into remission. So that's I give some tips on that and some information about that. But then I talk about the case studies of the healings that I've been an honored to participate in, and some of the more amazing healings. And then the third thing is the information that's come through, not just those healings, but in the online group healing circles. Literally information very much like what Elaine was talking about, where these were downloads that just started happening either during meditation or sometimes just, while I'm going about my day. So I compiled all those. So it's got the 3 parts. It's the Lyme healing, it's the energy healing stories, and then it's the divine information. So it's a lot going on. Hopefully it's in a package that everybody enjoys, because it is telling a story. So I literally talk about the things that immediately happened upon the publishing of my first book as a story. And there's a lot of adventures. There's a healing quest that I go around the world. I mean, literally it's kind of like a movie. So hopefully you all enjoy it. I've got the test readers out now, looking it over. Wendy, you're one of them. Thank you very much. And, so hopefully by the end of this month, I'll start getting the feedback, and then I can get it up on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And then I'll start doing some engagements with it. But anyway, this right here is the cover, the working cover. So anyway, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Wendy.
I know readers are really, really going to enjoy and just benefit from it when it's available.
Thank you.
So please join us. We're going to have a different schedule next month, because I've got a bit of travel coming up. So please join us September 22nd for the next episode of Waking Up Spiritually. And again, if you cannot join us live, everything is recorded and saved, archived at wakingupspiritually.com. And you can click on the broadcast tab. You can also use the search button. So if you've got a topic of something you need help with, just get into that website and check it out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel is appreciated, and rate and review us on Apple iTunes or wherever you like to listen to your podcast, because that just helps bring in the like-minded people that would benefit from these conversations and information. Visit Greg at his website, which is GREGG Kirk.com, to see all the wonderful things he's got going on. And visit me at my website, WendyRoseWilliams.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.